Hi, I'm Eve and I use any pronouns.
And I'm Phoenix. I use they, them pronouns.
And this is Talkin in the Tavern.
It's Talkin in the
Back for
Tavern.
another episode.
Hell
It's so
yeah.
fun. It's May now, so we're
is
doing
May.
our April wrap up for what we read last month.
Yeah.
Which is not great. It's not good.
I had a pretty good productive reading month, actually.
I saw.
So get on my level.
I kept seeing you reading more, and it took me 3 weeks to finish things, and so I was like, God fucking damn it. Actually, I only read like 6 books. It's not that good.
I read 9 books last month, which is interestingly, I also read 9 books in February.
Me?
I read the same number of books last month as I did in February, but when I look at my page count, in February I read 2,200 pages, and in April I read 3,200 pages.
Holy crap.
So I think February was a lot of graphic novels, whereas this was actual books.
Your page count must be insane this year, though. Your page count must be insane, though, because you read that, like, chunker 1,000
I'm on
page.
11,300 pages.
God. I don't even want to look at mine.
I mean, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I don't entirely trust Storygraph page count to be, like, bang on the money, but I don't really care.
No. Like, the Storygraph page numbers are never the same, but...
No. But yeah, 33...
I'll just take it. That's
33 books so far this year.
Holy crap. I'm on 29, so I'm not far behind.
No, I was gonna say, yeah.
But I'm just reading a lot of crap, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've noticed a lot of your books that you've been reading, you've either DNF'd or rated low.
Yeah.
Rated.
I will say I have just finished my first 5 stars of the year. My first 5 stars.
I saw, yeah.
I got very excited. It took me 3 weeks, but you know, she was beautiful.
Yeah.
I'll just launch straight into it because I want to talk about it.
Yeah, go for it.
I think it is one of the best books I've ever read. It's an instant favourite. And I had to Google... It took me so long because I had to Google a lot and research during reading it, because there was a lot of like references to other like authors and scientific concepts.
Oh, okay.
Which was really fun. Middle Game by Shannon Maguire? Shannon? Shannon? Shannon?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Shannon. I'm going to tell you Shannon Maguire. I'll just go with that. It is like, it's an urban fantasy, which is not usually my thing. I usually really don't like urban fantasy, but it was the right kind of like timey-wimey, time-bent. We're going between 2002 and 1802. Ooh. So it was like... I was okay with it. So there was a telephone and I wasn't mad about it. And usually if someone pulls at an iPhone, I immediately put the book down.
Oh God, here we go.
Because I don't want to see that in my novels. But it's hard to summarise such a dense book. And it was fantastic because it was about this alchemist who was born 18 something. And they were a woman, and so they couldn't advance the science. I know! A woman in science!
A woman? What's a
woman? I'm unfamiliar. And she basically was getting shunned by the scientific community, as you do, because boo, women. And so she Frankensteins a man together. To basically be the face of her research and stuff. And as she does that, as he is the face of her research, she puts out kids' novels that have her research in it, so kids can read it and figure stuff out in the future.
Incredible.
Which I think is really fun. And so every single part of the book was split up with a chapter from her kids' novel.
Well, that's cool.
Which I really, really enjoyed, and it was really kind of because they mentioned that Bam, the guy who wrote Wizard of Oz, was also an alchemist at the same time. And he wrote The Wizard of Oz to shun her research. And so there was a lot of like Wizard of Oz references, which I was thoroughly enjoying. But it was basically a kind of rip-off of her novel, quote unquote. This is obviously fake. He didn't actually do this.
Just for legal purposes, we're not accusing.
Yeah, no, I would never do that. This is just creative license with his work, and I just found that really fun. And so to speak, the Frankenstein creation murders her. This is not a spoiler, it's in the first chapter. And so he goes on to create sets of twins because he wants to find perfect balance. He wants to create... There's a set of twins that are the embodiment of chaos and order.
Like
and are
Thanos.
a little bit. Except he's a conventionally attractive white man.
Oh, okay. As opposed to a big, bulky purple man.
Purple, yeah.
Gotcha.
Being a grape. And so they want to find this place called the Impossible City, in quotes, which is kind of like the Emerald City in The Wizard of Oz, or like Salvation, in a sense. And so he wants to create this doctrine of ethos. And so our set of twins who we follow is the embodiment of language and the embodiment of language and mathematics. And it's so interesting because they can like bend time to their will and communicate through their heads. So they were sent out from the laboratory that they were made from to be separated and adopted into families. And it's them from the age of 2 to the age of 34. We follow them through the book.
Cool.
And it was basically, to summarize the story, it was how to make a homunculus into godlike beings. It was great.
Classic.
I loved it. There was time manipulation, quantum entanglement, godlike powers, world dominion, all raveled into like a bond between siblings. And
Nice.
one of them who can bend time to the world, but the other one can feel when time's been changed.
Oh.
So they can feel like the air feels like molasses in a kind of sense. So they can feel that they've been here before. So there's a lot of deja vu going on. And so there's many chapters where they're resetting the timeline because they've died. So it's like they're about to die. Like, oh no, this is not good. It's very fun. It was a fantastic book. It took me so long because I was in the trenches of what does this mean? What is a hand of glory? What does this alchemical term mean? That's fair. It was amazing.
Nice.
I love it so much. And there's 2 more, but I've seen bad things about them, so I don't know if I'll continue.
Oh, no.
But yeah. So I'm like, I see you've got a 2-star rating on Storygraph. I don't know if I'm going to read you, but we'll see. I might get it because I kind of want to read it. But
you can always DNF.
Exactly, and pretend it never happened.
Exactly.
So that was my first 5 stars of the year, and I'm very happy.
It only took until May.
Exactly. 29 books into the year.
Doing a really good job on the whole. I want to read more good books this year. I know. To be fair, I said I wanted to get my non-fiction to 10% of my reading. I think I've read 2 non-fiction books this year.
Hey, you got, what, 12, take away 5.
Uh-huh. You can do this.
7.
There we go.
You got 7 months left. You can do that.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
You can goose that. Don't worry, I wanted to get my audio up. I think I've read quite a few, so I think I'm on track for my audio goal, to be honest. But,
that's good.
So, yeah. But my good read goal of the year, not good reads.
Well,
my good read is falling behind. She's
likewise, you've got 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I just got to start DNFing more when I don't like stuff and not finishing it. I just got to commit because I always feel bad DNFing stuff. I just got to do it though.
Yeah,
it's got to happen.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, either you feel bad because you DNF'd it, or you force yourself to continue reading it and hate the experience.
Yeah.
And in that situation, I would always rather just be like, well, sorry, author, but you wrote a bad book. Oops, lol. So, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel like...
Exactly.
Like,
I should care
You've
less.
bought the book, right? Or you've borrowed it from the library or whatever. You owe it nothing. You owe the author absolutely nothing. You do not owe them finishing the book.
No.
So
if you're paying your cold hard cash or using a service, you have the right to not like something.
Exactly.
And to
just
put
because
it down.
you've bought it or borrowed it from the library doesn't mean you have to force yourself to read it.
No.
If you're not liking it, dunf that shit and take it to a charity shop or return it to the library. Make somebody else... let somebody else enjoy it. definitely not make somebody else read it. That's definitely not what I was going to say.
Yeah, force someone else to read it.
Force
Remember it.
your enemies to read your shit books that you don't like.
Exactly. Send it to them. Post them in there. Post them to their address. Be like, you have to read this, Anonymous. You know? Meh, you can cackle.
Evil. Anyway.
But yeah, it took me so long to finish, so I haven't really read anything much else. I read 6 books, but I won't lie, I can't really talk about them because one of our is our book club book.
Yeah.
So I will not talk about that.
So don't worry.
We'll talk about it in a couple of weeks. Woo!
Yeah, I haven't started it yet. Eve's already read it and finished it like a week or 2 ago.
And I'm saying nothing.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
It would be fine. Yeah. But tell me things you've read. Tell me everything.
Okay.
Yes.
So, technically, this is technically the book that I'm going to talk about. I didn't really read it. Well, I read most of it in April. I finished it on the 2nd of May, but I'm counting it for this because it's a recent read. And also, I was looking through my April reads, and the one that I would otherwise talk about, I talked about in our book club episode last month. Oh,
stunning. Okay, perfect.
Which was Black Sun.
Yeah.
I talked about that anyway, so what I'm going to talk about is I read a book called Evocation by S.T. Gibson.
I love the cover for that book.
It's a great cover.
Gorgeous.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like spectacular, but it was good. It's about there's sort of 3 main characters, but there's like a main character and 2 other ones who also get point of view chapters every now and then. But the main guy is called David Aristarkov, and he is like,
love it.
It's this world where like magic exists, but it's otherwise like a normal world. And he is like a psychic prodigy, right? And his dad was like a huge occultist, like really rich, and was like really terrible to him as a child, and died. Ha, lol.
Skill issue.
And now David is like he spends some of his time as like a medium, like working as a medium for people, and the rest of his time, like his day job, is like a high-powered attorney.
Hell yeah.
And then
objection.
He discovers that there is a powerful demon thing that his like long ago ancestor made a pact with to get power in return for, I think it was like the life of the soul of the youngest Aristarkov heir, right?
Ooh,
and they all thought that meant that one of that guy's sons, but he discovers that this deal is like coming to fruition because David is nearly 30, and spoilers for the book, they discover that the deal is actually, it's like if the youngest Aristarkov male doesn't have a child or a son specifically before he turns 30, then the devil's going to come and collect on his soul. And David's like a week or so away from his 30th birthday and gay, so does not have a child.
Nice. Perfect.
So he has to turn to the one person he can trust to help him, his ex-boyfriend, and his ex-boyfriend's new wife. So his ex-boyfriend Reese, who he dated for a while, but they were really quite bad for each other, and it's like they've got like a whole sort of mostly pretty toxic past. Reese is like very much not rich, very much not like from this huge family, but is a powerful occultist in his own right, and his wife Moira is I think she describes herself as a witch. She's also very powerful, but in a different way, and also does not come from money or anything like that. And so the two of them are like, fine, we'll fucking help you, because otherwise you're going to die, and we don't like you very much, but we don't want you dead. And then it's sort of like, over the course of the book, they all begin to develop deep feelings for each other, but in slightly different ways. So it's like, Risa and Moira are obviously married and very happily married. And then Reese and David have, like, very strong sexual tension that apparently neither of them can resist, and they just really need each other. And then David and Moira have, like, a very close emotional bond, but absolutely no sexual attraction. So it's like a fun polyamory thing, and I appreciate that it's not just like they all want to fuck each other. It's like a bit more in depth than that.
I like that.
It was really cool, and then obviously, you know, it's like the first book in a series, so it ends, but on like a bit of a, not like cliffhanger, but there's still like set up for future stuff, and they're all getting along. And it was good. I enjoyed it, except for the fact that none of them, like, David is supposed to be just about 30, and the other two I think are like, I think Moira's like 24, 25, and Reese is like 25, 26. So they're like my age, right?
Yeah.
They do not feel it at all.
Oh, no.
They feel
Teenagers?
worse. They feel far too established. They feel like totally the opposite. They feel like they should be in their mid to late 30s.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Like they all have like very settled careers. They all have their own homes. Like I said, like Reese and Moira are married, which people my age are, but not very much these days. It all feels very established and settled, and like David's supposedly some like hotshot lawyer, but he's in his late 20s, so he can't have been a lawyer for very long because of the length of time that it takes to like learn, and the length of time you spend before you're like, you know, successful or like a name at all. Like that's something that in many professions, but I think particularly the law, takes like a long time to be like somebody, but apparently he's already there, and it's just, it feels weird. And I saw lots of other people in the reviews be like, why are they supposed to be in their mid-20s when they read like they're very much older?
Like, if like one of the characters is in their 30s, surely all of them could have been in their 30s.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just, I'm like, you could have literally just been like, the curse is before he turns, like if he turns 40, right?
Yeah,
add a decade onto everything,
fine.
and suddenly it makes way more sense, and the characters don't feel quite so weird. But because they've obviously insisted on this 30 thing, but then wanted to write these characters in a way that makes them feel like adults, it just doesn't work. Because
law school takes a while.
However old I am. How old am I? I don't even know. I'm in my late 20s. I do not feel anywhere near as like established as a person as these three do. And nobody else I know my age does either. It was a bit odd. But other than that, I enjoyed it. It's like, just like, oh good, a book about people my age. Oh wait, they don't feel like they're at all my age.
Damn. So like, instead of having like still room to grow, they've just got like...
it feels like they're
cemented.
very... It feels like I say, like they're all, like, they've all got very established careers. Like Reese is like a professor at a college. And like I think works in the like library as well.
Difficult to like... get
it's
to
just
very early.
Yeah, this is exactly. It's like they feel like they have jobs that you shouldn't be able to have already got to by
unless
the
it's
age
like
they're at. It feels like they've got jobs that they would get to in about 10 years, but they're already there. It just doesn't make sense.
It would be good for plot points if they were still developing careers as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's just it was just a bit off, and I think particularly reading it as somebody who is the age that the characters are sort of meant to be, I was like, oh, this is definitely not what my life feels like at all. And obviously I know David is meant to be like mega fucking rich, right? But that doesn't magically make you like a hotshot lawyer. That doesn't mean that you're like an established figure just because you're really rich.
Yeah, just because you've potentially had this job set up, it still doesn't mean strange.
Yeah,
but
it just
how many stars was this?
I gave it 3.75.
Okay.
Because I did enjoy it.
Though.
I was just very much thrown by the ages, which just did not feel at all correct.
I just realised most books never really tell you character ages anymore. Especially in like adult books.
Exactly. And I honestly, if the age thing hadn't been a plot point, you could have totally never mentioned ages and I would have just been fine with it.
And been fine with it.
But because age was a particular plot point for him nearly turning 30, it was like, oh, weird. You've written a bunch of 30-somethings, but called them 20. Do you know, it's a bit like when Hollywood casts like somebody in their mid-30s to play a teenager in a school.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're not like you're clearly not a teenager.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when fucking what's his name? The Dear Evan Hansen movie.
Oh, yes.
You know, I can't
when
remember
they just
the guy's
made
name.
him. Oh, me neither. I remember for that role, he literally just lost a bit of weight to appear more of like a gangly teenage boy.
Yeah,
But in fact, it made him look a little bit older.
yeah. It just Ben Platt.
Ben
That's
Platt,
his fucking
yep.
name. Ben Platt, right? Who's meant to be playing like a
One of
teenager.
my favourite reaction memes came out of that movie, and it's him like going to cry, but his whole face is like tensed. It's so good, and he's like bright red.
He's meant to be 17, and I think at time of filming he was about 27, and it shows.
Yeah, it does.
Or like the
Especially 'cause-
Percy Jackson movies.
Oh yeah, I'm a
just like-
12-year-old boy. You
I
look
was like, sure
42.
you fucking are. That's what this felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
It's just like it would have been better
Would have been better.
if the age thing had just been that plus 10 years, and then you'd
Yeah.
have been fine. But no. Whatever.
Or they could have swapped around ages and made the couple like the older ones. A little bit.
Yeah, but even
A
then
little
it's like, how is he supposed to be like a super successful lawyer?
Yeah.
Who never
just-
loses a case. It's just like, no.
Never.
Never.
He's got 100% success rate.
Apparently so. And it's like part of this is because he's like a bit magical and obviously uses this magic to help a little bit. But it's
Yeah.
also like, I'm sorry, no 29-year-old lawyer has a 100% success rate. People
God, no.
fuck up. People lose. People fail.
Exactly.
And I just...
Or like cases
yeah.
get dismissed.
Exactly. It's just
Yeah.
it's just weird, and it just felt like it just didn't quite make sense. So
It sounds good though. I've been
I did enjoy
wanting
it.
to read for a while. Yeah.
I would still very much recommend it. It's just like you just have to just replace all of the mentions of 30 with 40, and the
Understood.
book makes way more sense.
Perfect.
It just make more and more sense as characters if they're 10 years older than they are.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, what are you reading next? What are you reading now?
what I'm reading
Is the main
now,
question after evocation.
finally,
Yeah.
is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb.
Yes. It's a
I've-
good book.
I
I'm not
have
about it.
been intending to start reading Robin Hobb books for
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years now. And I picked this one up, I think, at the start of the year? Yeah.
I think so.
Second hand. I got it from a second hand
Yeah.
bookshop in like January.
Gorgeous.
And I was finally like, you know what? You're next, Robin Hobb. And I'm
Yes.
enjoying it. It takes
It's
a
a
bit to
fun
get
book.
going.
Yeah.
But I think I'm aware that it is the first book in a trilogy, and then that trilogy is the first trilogy in
Yeah.
a series of like 16 books or something.
Yeah, and then there's the sequel trilogy to that trilogy.
Exactly, it's
directly.
like there's
So-
this trilogy, and then another trilogy in the same world but with different characters in a different place. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
another trilogy that's the same characters again, and then I think there's a quadrilogy that's different again, and then another trilogy that's like the same characters from the trilogies 1 and 3. I think
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
is my understanding.
I
So
think she
I'm
rounded
like,
it off with the fools. Yeah.
I'm giving it leeway because I'm aware that it's like doing a lot of world building so that the later books don't have to.
Yeah.
And
It
that's fine.
really
Like
packs
I
it
did
in.
the same thing with Empire in Black and Gold. It's like you've got to like
Mm-hmm.
take a bit of the pressure off it because it's got a lot of building to do to create a world for 16 books.
Yeah.
But it has been quite a slow start to the book. I've been reading it quite slowly.
The good thing about it though is it is substantially shorter than Empire. And in
Yes.
length,
Oh,
yet
yeah.
it still packs in so much world building.
It's about half the length, yeah.
Oh yeah. No shade to Empire. I love you. You're great, Tchaikovsky. But I Robin Hobb, the first book is. I think at the end it gets really, really good. But I agree, it was really quite dense. It's
Yeah.
really quite dense. But it's a great time. I never continued after the second book, but I need to get around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know there's the Farseer trilogy, and then there's the Live Ship trilogy, then there's the
Fair
Tawny Man trilogy, which is like set after, more directly
Yes.
after the Farseer trilogy, and carries on those characters.
Yes.
And then there's the Rainwild Chronicles, which is the 4, which are about dragons, I think.
Yes, they are. But weird,
And then
fucked up
there's
dragons.
Fitz and the Fool, which is the last trilogy, which is the characters from trilogies 1 and 3. So it's a lot of books.
Love the Fool. Big fan of the Fool.
I'm fully expecting it to take like a good couple of years to get through them all.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, it's finally time to start reading these. So yeah, I'm giving it like leeway. I'm giving it extra bit of bonus because I'm like, you're doing world building for stuff that's necessary, so that's fine.
Yeah. You're
and also, it's
up
like
this whole
a lot of the
empire.
first bit of this is also setting up Fitz as a character.
Yes.
Like it's his like childhood. So I'm like, this is fine.
really
I'm willing to let this take its time because it's character building as well.
I really like
has
the naming
slowed me
convention as well in the
Yes,
book.
yeah, it's cool.
I love it. I used that naming convention for an OC like a couple months ago because I was like, this is great. I have a character, his dad's called Chivalry, because I was just like, this is great. I love being called after a thing so you're more like it.
Yeah.
Or you're expected to be like it. Big fan. Big fan.
No, I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying the world building and stuff, but it has been slow going, just because of what it is. It was the same with Empire Black and Gold. It took me a while.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I'm looking forward
time.
to finishing it and to reading the rest.
Heck yeah.
What about you?
You'll need to let me know when you finish.
Oh, I will. Don't worry. I'm sure we will talk about it.
Oh, for sure.
I will also be needing to talk to my sister about it because she has read through all of Robin Hobb, all of the Realm of the Elderlings series.
Deal.
I think it took her like a couple of years to get through them, and I think she finished the last one a couple of years ago.
That must be such a good
She
feeling,
was
though.
very sad. She was like, I've run out of Robin Hobb to read.
Oh,
Finally, after like 3 years, I've run out.
it's all over. They must be so satisfying though to know that you've finished the whole world stories. It must be so satisfying.
I'm appreciating that it's broken up into little trilogies as well, because it means I can read the first trilogy and then take a break, and then read the next bit, and then whereas Adrian Shadows of the Apt is very much like, here's 10 books. And I think they do sort of break up into separate characters, but they're not they're not as delineated.
I did really appreciate in the second one we got a lot of new people. So I love a new character. Not just cemented with like the old already established people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. What are you currently reading?
I'm struggling.
So this semi leads into the thing I wanted us to do today, but I'll talk about the audiobook I just started. Because I finally picked up Our Hideous Progeny by C.E. McGill.
Yes.
I'm 2 hours in. I picked it up last night while I was playing a video game and was like, holy shit, I'm going to turn off this video game so I can like just stare at the wall and listen.
I was going to say, when you were talking about middle game, and you were talking about like a woman scientist, very disregarded by her peers, builds a Frankenstein monster, I was like, are you not also currently reading C.E. McGill, Our Hideous Progeny, which is basically that exact same plot almost?
I came out of that fucking middle game being like, I want more women in STEM. Saw that this was available in Libro and ran. And I was like, I know what I'm doing. It's been on my TBR since it came out. I never got around to reading it. I know you love it. So I was like, I need to read it. Quick synopsis. It is a gothic adventure, queer twist on Frankenstein, about the great niece of Victor Frankenstein, and her husband Henry.
I believe
Henry.
So. It's been a while.
It's 1850s science with a world booming, and I believe it's got dinosaurs in it.
It does.
It's the dinosaur twist and not like men being built. Because I just came out of men being built, and they were all assholes. So I want some dinosaurs.
No men are built here. Just a dinosaur.
Goods. Which it makes me very excited because I like all the characters so far. Like Maisie's very fun. I love how her introduction was them walking the grounds and being like, I've got really bad asthma, having an asthma attack, and then just pulling out a lit cigarette. You're like, this will help surely with my asthma. Girl, this is not going to end well. I'm so scared. but I know some things, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited to know more.
Yeah. It's a blast.
I had to physically slow down my audiobook because I wanted to savour it. And I gotta go fast.
You finally
gotta go fast kind of person.
discovered.
Oh, I'm still on 1.75. Don't get it
Yeah,
twisted.
but for you, that's like
That's
slow.
I need them to quicken up the pace. No, we're good. I'm thoroughly loving it so far. I don't know why I didn't read it until now, but I can't wait.
I've been telling you,
I know. It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. But yes, that is what I'm currently reading. That's it. That's everything I'm reading.
You're only reading one book?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
No. That's my problem. I think because a middle game took me so long to get through, I finished everything else that I was reading.
I think maybe this is a good like reset for you, Maybe this is the opportunity.
No. I have a list.
Oh.
I would like you to help me for what I should read next. I'm going to if we can skip right to that, if that's all right.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a list of 3 books, and I want you to
Okay.
pick between them because I don't know what to read.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't decide. Okay. So, option 1.
Yep.
The next book in the Shadow of the App series, Blood of the Mantis.
Okay.
Should I go right into that? Because I just finished
Dragonfly Falling.
Dragonfly Falling, thank you very much. Loved it. Fantastic book.
Yep.
I love war.
Absolute
Big
fucking
fan.
blast, yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah.
Should I go into Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett? Because I've been putting that book off. Or should I read Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil?
Oh. Okay. So, I've read Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I have read Shorefall. And I am currently listening to Blood of the Mantis. Okay.
This is why I picked these 3. I was
so
like,
I like
this is a good
you
mix.
picked 3 that are like ones that I could actually give some amount of
exactly. I want you
response to.
Opinionated choice.
So, here's what I would say. Shorefall, I remember taking me a while.
Okay.
Right? It was good. I really enjoyed it. It took me a couple of weeks to read.
Oh, okay.
Right? Blood of the Mantis. It's an Adrian Tchaikovsky. I don't think it's quite as long. It's definitely shorter than Dragonfly Falling.
Yes. I did notice that it was only like 400 pages. I was shocked.
So
I don't think he could write
it probably won't take overly long, which is a plus. Because, Dragonfly Falling is, I think, almost twice as long.
Yeah. It's a chunker. She's like 800 pages.
Yeah. So Blood of the Mantis, you've got a plus there. And Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, I mean, I wasn't overly impressed with.
Okay.
I know we've talked about it, but I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast.
I don't think so.
I think I mentioned when I started reading it. I don't know if I ever talked about it, actually, what I ended up thinking. I was not hugely impressed.
Okay.
Safe to say. There was some really cool concepts in there. But it was...
Okay.
And there's... Because it's takes place over like a long period of time because vampires. There's obviously like a lot of, time progression, and we skip over quite a fair amount of time during which character development presumably happens, and it feels a bit shit.
Oh no. Yeah.
Because
kind of like Evocation in a sense, where they're established, but you never got to see it.
Yeah, sort of. Except that you see the before as well. So it's like you see a character when they're younger, or they've like just become vampired, and you're like, oh damn. And then you skip ahead a bit, which is fine. And, they're learning how to be a vampire and that. And then, you get through that. And then you skip 300 years. And suddenly they're a cunt.
Great.
And it's like, could we not have seen the in
Could
between?
we have seen the cuntification process?
Do we just skip past that part? So, it depends. I would suggest, given that you've just come out of middle game, that took you a while, I would put Shorefall to the side for now.
Okay.
Right? Because I think that'll probably be a slower one. I don't know, how long did it take you to read Foundry Side?
A couple days. I was obsessed with it, loved it.
Okay. Because Foundry Side took me a while too, so maybe it wouldn't be too slow for you. But those books are very dense.
They are.
Right.
Which was my worry, because it was like, it's very, you have to know the rules.
Especially because it's been a little while, hasn't it, since you've read.
Yeah. I'd have to do a recap.
Exactly. So, Shorefall might be a slower read for you. Okay. I don't think Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil will take you very long. But I'm also not hugely convinced you'll enjoy it all that much.
Okay.
So that's the risk there.
Scared by it, okay.
Whereas, Blood of the Mantis, I mean, I'm only sort of a bit, I'm not even 10% through the audiobook yet. But I think it's guaranteed enjoyment. And it's only 400 and something pages, so it probably won't take you very long either.
Has it got the same amount of battles in it so far?
Not that I've hit yet, but I'm only 7% in. Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So,
okay.
I think. Right, we're just gonna have to fucking spoilers, by the way, for the first 2 books of Shadows of the Apt. Just put that in a little box here. Spoilers.
A little bit.
Dragonfly Falling, right? Obviously, there's all the battles and shit, but also there's the little tiny subplot of the heist, right? There's that group who are hired by the Empire to go and steal the weird box thing, and then
I'm so scared about the box. I'm
spider person who can disguise themselves steals the box and fucks off on their own, and gets creeped out by the box, but that's the last we see of them, and then everything that gets put to the side because suddenly there's 4 battles happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And you get distracted by that and you forget that there was this whole heist thing going on.
Yeah.
Blood of the Mantis starts out with them, a chaos basically works out what that box is and that it has been stolen. And he is I am going to take Tizamon and Tynesa and fucking... oh god, what's the wasp guy's name?
Oh,
the soldier. The bad guy from book 1.
Not Thalric.
Thalric, yes.
Thalric.
So,
love him.
He's Tizamon, Tynesa, Thalric, you 3 because you're all... Tizamon and Tynesa because they're also... of the old races, so they understand magic a bit, and Thalric because where the box has been is somewhere in the Wasp Empire. So he's we need our the 3 of you are coming with me, and we're gonna go find that fucking box because that box is bad fucking news and it cannot fall into bad hands.
Yeah,
that's all I know so far.
Perfect.
So that tiny little plot thread from Blood of the Dragonfly, I think is just here's cool. Here's a book from that.
That's really cool.
While I assume Stenwold and Che and friends will, I guess, continue to have to hold off the Empire. And
that makes me worried for Che and Chaos.
But yes, Che is not very happy about a Chaos being you can't come because it would you don't understand the magic shit and it'll be risky. And I need people who know the magic shit and also somebody who can guide us safely through the Wasp Empire. And you don't fit into either of those categories, so Sawslol.
Sawslol, you're staying here.
Not hugely happy with that. Shockingly. And everybody's favourite friend, Salma, he's doing his own thing.
Good.
Stenwold is hey, you guys could come and help us. And Salma's I'm responsible for people now. And
he's got his own
posse. He literally says to Stenwold, he's I'm responsible for these people. They follow me. I am not going to just turn them into a militia for you to use.
Exactly.
We're going to do our own thing. So good. I think my suggestion, I think
Uh-huh.
if you want to read Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, I would do it after when you're definitely willing to read a book that you might not love.
Might not like. Okay.
If
I
you
might
want
leave that
something
for the
that's like a
background.
guaranteed you're going to enjoy it at least somewhat,
Uh-huh.
Blood of the Mantis.
Okay.
And I would put Shorefall to the side until you've like got your brain back into like I can do a dense read.
I can do a dense book. Okay, okay. I like.
Which
Thank you.
I'm guessing
that helps
you're
a
not
lot.
there right now. Because
No.
you've just read Middle Game.
Oh my god, I have notes upon notes. I've got a notebook that I had to write stuff down in so I could reference it. It was great. It
Incredible.
was fabulous. No, but that really helped. Okay, I'll pick that book up because I kind of panicked last night lying in bed because I was like, I've not got anything to read to go to bed to. I'm just gonna lie here listening to my audiobook and stare at the ceiling. It was really weird. And at the moment, I'm trying to go through my TBR because I went through my entire bookshelf and all my own books and wrote down every single book I haven't read that I own. I have 71.
That's look, I'm on 69. So
Perfect.
like
Gorgeous. Nice.
I'm very much like that's too many, like I need to cut this down. But also it's
Uh-huh.
not like an insane number.
It's not an insane
It's not
amount.
like 100 and something. So it could be
No.
much worse.
And some of these books are like 3 or 4 out of an entire series that I own. So it's like it's fine.
Yeah.
So if we hadn't decided what I was going to read, I was going to send you the entire thing and make you pick one. So
Well, I'm glad we didn't get to that.
glad we didn't do that because I was in full panic mode of like I don't know what I'm going to do. So yeah, okay, I'll pick that up. That is my Blood of the Mantis. Adrian Crosby is my up next then. Stunning. I'm going to mark
Nice.
that down so I remember reading that. Woo! Okay,
I need to
thank you.
Listen to the audiobook somewhere.
Oh my gosh, yes. I listened to the audiobook for the Dragonfly Falling. Loved the narrator. Loved.
I just think he's fantastic.
He is
I love
fantastic.
I love the voices he does. I think he's just got such a good grip of it.
Yeah.
And
He gets the accents done really well,
Oh,
especially like
nails
different-
like I have not once had him do an accent where I'm like, oh, that
Yeah,
wasn't
I've
great.
not like cringed against it because like
Exactly.
I love that everyone's Irish. Love that. Probably not like a
You say
thematic choice,
everyone.
but, you know,
It's just the mantises.
I love that they're Irish. I want more of them. I love his like the women characters. He doesn't go like a high pitched
Oh
squee.
god,
that
yeah, he doesn't
more-
do the
more-
really pathetic, really bad
I'm just a little
falsetto.
dainty girl. Woohoo! Yay! Tee-hee.
I'm trying. Yeah, thankfully he
there.
doesn't do that. It's great.
No, there's some grit to their voices. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
The big fan.
Yeah.
Oh.
And also, I think he's so good, and all the
Mm-hmm.
like regional UK accents, and then obviously some others. But it just feels right somehow,
It does.
especially when you consider that Adrian Tchaikovsky. He's from like England, right? Like he's
Yeah.
not American.
Cornwall, something like that.
Lancashire, I think.
Lancashire, stunning. Okay.
Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Great taste in vests, Adrian.
Big
I know
fan.
you're listening.
Also, total tangent, but
Uh-huh.
Adrian Tchaikovsky has a podcast now. Him and another sci-fi fantasy author, Emma Newman. They've started a podcast where they recommend media, like books,
Nice.
films, and stuff, and then they each go away and consume said
Watch it.
media and then
Love
kind of
it.
talk about it. And it's really, really good. I listened to the first episode when it came out, which was about
A couple weeks ago now.
yeah, and it's a book
Yeah.
by John Wyndham, so it's like classic sci-fi from like
Yeah.
the 1950s, I think.
Nice.
And it was really interesting.
Hell yeah.
It's called The Kraken Wakes, and it's like apocalyptic sci-fi about aliens that come from the depths of the ocean.
We know what inspired him then.
Well, so it came out in 1953, and it's really interesting. Sorry, this is a total tangent, but they were
No,
talking
go for
about
it.
how, because it's set in the UK, and they were talking about how the main character and his wife, who are both journalists, like it's all about how they like make it through the
Yeah.
the apocalypse, basically. And there's a lot of focus on how there's this instinct to do the whole sort of keep calm and carry on, like everything will be fine sort of thing, right? Which, when you hear that now, you think COVID, right? Because that was like the UK government thing was like, keep calm and carry on, we'll all be fine if we stick through this together. Woohoo!
We've got this.
British,
Woo!
you know? But he's writing in 1953. He's writing just after World War II.
Ooh,
Right, when that was obviously like that was a big thing then too, and it's like a criticism of that. It's like this is why that doesn't work, because it just leaves people with nothing. And it's it sounded really interesting, so I'm going to read the book at some point. But I would definitely recommend listening to the podcast, because the way they talk about it is really interesting, and it's also, I always think it's really interesting to hear authors discussing other people's books. In like an analytical way. So yeah. I
have the first episode downloaded for my train ride on Monday.
No, that's good.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
it sounds good.
I really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah!
So yeah, total tangent there.
Love it. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna ask you to go on another one, because you're gonna tell us what's up next as well.
It's fine, because that's not a tangent. That's what I'm meant to be doing.
Go for it.
So, I think at some point soon, obviously my next immediate book is going to be our book club book, but we'll talk about that. So, my book that I want to read soon is Somebody Like Me by Lucy Lipinska. So, Lucy Lipinska, also known as L.D. Lipinski, they write children's like middle grade fantasy under the name L.D. Lipinski. They came to the bookshop like a month or two ago to do a signing, and I met them. It was a Monday, so it was like me. I was there, and I had a fantastic conversation with them. Really interesting about like writing non-binary children and like writing queer books for children and how important that is. And it was great. And I got a couple of books dedicated, which made me very happy.
Nice.
And then they were saying that they had this new book coming out that is now out because of how long ago this was. But anyway, which is their adult debut, which is why it's under a different name.
Separate.
And it's called Somebody Like Me, and it's about this. It's about Abigail Fuller, right? Who is a artificial intelligence robot replacement for a man's wife, right? His wife died, and he bought a robot to like act like his wife and to pretend to be his wife, so that he doesn't have to, acknowledge that his wife has died. Okay.
So companion.
Sort of,
movie. Yeah. Artificial girlfriend. Love that. I love that trope.
But then,
I love it.
Soon, at the start of the book, my understanding is that the law is going to change to emancipate all of these robots who are like Abigail, right? So they'll be able to do whatever they want. They don't have to pretend to be who they've been pretending to be. They don't have to do what their quote unquote owners say. And so it's like, it's all about how do you decide what to do when you've never been free to choose what to do before. And I think also it's gay.
Fuck yes.
I have been told there's sapphic.
There's still gays. Oh. That
sapphic
makes me
robots.
happy.
Sapphic AI
Sapphic robots, even better.
Robo saphics.
Rosas.
So I'm in.
Yes, that sounds amazing.
It sounded very interesting.
That sounds really cool.
I'm very excited to read it. And I've seen it compared to oh god, what's his name? Kazuo Ishiguro, who wrote Clara and the Sun and The Remains of the Day, and many other things. But I've seen it compared specifically to Clara and the Sun and to Emily St. John Mandel's Station 11 and the other one.
Yes, I can't remember what it's called.
And also, an author that I read a book by, like, 3 fucking years ago, Sequoia Nagamatsu, who wrote a book called How High We Go in the Dark.
Oh, yeah.
Which was one of the first books I ever got a proof for. It was just after I started at the bookshop.
That's so fun.
And it was like a collection. It was sort of like a collection of short stories, but it's like a series of stories that are all chronological from each other about humanity rebuilding in the aftermath of a plague that was like unearthed, frozen deep in the Arctic. So like the very first story is about like the plague being unearthed, and then each story is like chronologically after that, and it shows like how humanity progresses and how like hope remains and all this sort of stuff. It was really incredible. I absolutely loved it. And I've read one of L.D. Lipinski's middle grade books and really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to reading somebody like
really
me.
Fun.
Yeah, should be really good.
Hell yeah! I love when like AI robots and stuff get like are like actual people and have thoughts and feelings and like get rights. I think that's just a really cute, like, really well done plot line in a lot of things. It's really interestingly done in a lot of ways as well. So tell me about it.
I will. I'll be sure to talk about it at some point in the future because
that sounds so cool.
It should be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
Hell yeah. Well, I don't think we have a rant today.
No, I don't have anything to rant about. I'm sure there is something I should rant about, but it hasn't popped up in my brain, so. And there's only so many times I can rant about AI, so. Exactly.
The only really things I've seen online or anything about, like, Sarah J. Maas, and I don't want to talk about that. Ever. I never again, so I don't have anything. So,
no. Sorry
about that. But in other news, we are reading Faithbreaker by Hannah Kato at the end of this month. It'll be a fun time. It is the final book in the trilogy of, I don't know what the series title is, but the first book is Godkiller. We've done that. We did the second book.
It might just be called Godkiller series or something.
Is it?
Hang on. I'm sure Storygraph will know. Give me a second, I'll check.
Let's pause for a brief intermission.
Fallen Gods.
Fallen Gods. Okay.
Fallen
Gods series, trilogy.
Apparently.
The third and final book poses to be an interesting discussion. We loved the second one. I at least loved the second one.
It was a significant improvement over the first one. That's
it was
goddamn sure.
Definitely. Well, I'll say no more and see what we think of it.
We'll see what we think in a couple of weeks.
And if you haven't already, go back and listen to the episodes, read the books, and join us in a couple of weeks, and we will be reading that. But yeah, I think that's all our announcements. Otherwise,
I believe so. Yeah, we'll have book club in a couple of weeks, and then obviously more Talking in the Tavern.
More Talking in the Tavern
in June, and then
somehow it's
June. And then another book club, and then another Talking in the Tavern, and then another book club,
and then we repeat forever.
Radical, really. Oh, we just go on forever. Yes. Keep an eye out on our socials because we'll actually finally maybe start doing new things.
Yeah.
I know we've said this approximately 4 times already, but this time for real.
Time for real. I've noted it down. I need to do it. Yeah. If I don't do it, yell at me.
The reason it's going to happen for real this time is because Eve isn't busy with uni and
I know
actually knows how to do social media, and I don't do social media, so it never happens unless Eve does it.
I hate social media. I hate it so much, but I know how to use things.
Yeah. It's my job. Socials. look at them. Use your eyes because new things will be coming.
Yeah. Oh, hunky dory. Well, fabulous. Thank you so much for listening to this episode.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We shall see you next time.
In a couple of weeks.
Thank you for joining us here at the Tavern. Phoenix, where can our listeners find you outside the podcast?
They can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, or Instagram, all under Beans and Fungi. What about you, Eve?
And you can find me under Cozy Crow with an S and not a Z on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube.
And of course, make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at Hearth and Tome Pod, Twitter at Hearth and Tome, and TikTok at hearth.and.tome to keep up to date with all the goings on here at the Tavern.
Yeah. Bye. The music used within this episode was Wholesome by Kevin MacLeod through incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license.